like you don't actually get better when you hit a perfect 7-iron. You actually are getting better in the errors and the mistakes and like the whole process of a shot.
Welcome to the cGolfcDriven show, where we are driven to get better at golf and learn more about improvement too. I'm Colin, and today I'm talking to Cordie Walker, the founder of the Golf Science Lab. Thank you, Cordie, for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So today we're talking about bad habits that golfers have. But before we dive into that, I'd love to hear more about the Golf Science Lab. And can you just tell me more how you got started, what it is?
Yes. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on your first show. I've done a few podcasts, but I managed to show up and not have a microphone for this. So I'm like the rookie here in this interview somehow. So I apologize in advance for my lack of professionalism there. But I've been doing podcasts and stuff in this space for a long time. Probably back in 2015, 2014, I started a podcast where we were just trying to look at what research is going on in the golf space, and then kind of dove into specific topics of like trying to understand the mental game, practice, biomechanics, all that kind of stuff. So we did some seasons of podcasts, we did some virtual summits, done a lot of really fun stuff over the years. And right now we've kind of evolved to a place where we're mainly focused on right now finding interesting ideas from interesting people. So whether that's going around and spending a few days with somebody like just a couple weeks ago, I was with Mark Blackburn talking about a few things. And so like doing that, and then we have a weekly newsletter that goes out. So YouTube and our weekly email newsletter, those are the two places to kind of follow along. I'm just looking for the most interesting ideas and like performance and getting better and like what's interesting. And yeah, kind of along that journey.
Yeah, that's great. I'm a big fan of the newsletter. It's a great read. So if anyone out there, definitely at the end, we'll tell them how to link up to that. Now, what about your golf game? I know you've been working on getting your ball speed up to 180. How's that going?
Yeah, so my game right now, this is my year to turn professional as a competitive amateur. So I'm now trying to embrace the title of professional competitive amateur. That's what I'm going with. This has been the year of kicking that off. So the first journey was speed. I'm trying to get to 180 ball speed during a round of golf, which is difficult.
Yeah. I know I'm stuck in like the 150s, 160s, so it's a big
So
effort.
I started probably like 165, like something like that is pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I've been getting after it with like going and finding people to talk to about it, trying to put in some work in like training sessions, and the next step, I really just have to. I got to get my body in a better place. So that's the next episode that I'm working on lining up. I've gone and seen Luke Benoit, saw Mark Blackburn to talk about it. I'm headed down to see John Sinclair to get talk equipment, TPT golf shafts. Next up, we got to go. We're going to go work on the body and get a plan in place there, because I think that's going to have some big dividends as I've learned in the first couple episodes. So yeah, we're working on it.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Okay.
So today we're talking about bad habits that golfers have, and hopefully I don't have too many of these. So what do you think our first one to go to is? What do you think?
Yeah, bad habits that golfers have. I think the first one, I think back to like what's made some of the biggest differences when I've changed from one habit to another. And the first one had to be tee shot strategy. I think that most golfers have terrible tee shot habits, from club selection to target selection.
Okay.
So for me, the biggest gains that I saw was spending some time with Scott Fawcett at Decade Golf and learning about driver dispersion. It's a really simple concept, but that like your driver is a shotgun, not a sniper rifle. It's going to go in, a 75-yard wide area. And pretty much every golf hole, if you look at it and map that out, you can find the spot where the center of that is.
Yeah.
And it's usually not the center of the fairway. And once you start to look at that and you start to actually like have awareness and maybe plot that out on some holes, you see like, oh, I can hit it there. I have 75 yards wide easily, and that is my starting line to hit it. So I think one of the new habits to start to create is to just look and think a little bit before you hit a tee shot about where you should be centering that dispersion pattern. So that's like step one, was target selection. I think most people have bad habits around target selection off the tee.
Okay. So
The
do you think that do you think amateurs are mostly like leaving room where there's like trouble in play still, or do you think they're just moving way too far away from play, or is it they're clubbing down too much?
Yeah, I think most people don't have a good target to begin with. I
Mm,
think they just aim at the middle of the fairway.
okay.
Um, so I think that's the main thing, and they're also not aware when they should pull back or push forward, because there are some deceiving holes where it looks like I got to lay back here because like if I go long, there's like a tree or a bunker. But maybe when you look at you actually push up, you say like, oh, like there's not really that bad of trouble, so I need to just bomb this as far as I can.
Yeah.
That made a big difference for me, was actually getting more aggressive with that when you understand that. The other thing is looking at it, say like, all right, we got water here, and I can't put the 75 yards anywhere. Okay, so now I got to go back. Um, and the second concept is just like having a go-to club. So um, another coach, Will Robbins, great friend of mine. We work together on this project called the Scoring Method. Talks about like you got to have a go-to club. Like what can you go to the range and hit 8 out of 10 times in a fairway on the range and test yourself and like put yourself under pressure with it, so that like when you just need to get the ball in play and not lose a golf ball, which is the ultimate killer, you can't do that. Like what should you hit? Like what do you have faith in? Like what's your go-to club? What do you have proven you have competence in? So I think that's the other thing that a lot of people have as a bad habit, is they don't have a go-to club. Like they might have a 4-iron and they're like, yeah, like I'm gonna get this in the fairway, but they've never practiced it. They've never like
Yeah.
tested themselves. They've never done any of that stuff. So like, yeah, sure, like it's a nice idea, but have you proven it that that's your go-to club? No, like you should do that if you actually need to lay back to that.
So I think that one's definitely me. It's I love my driver, but it can't, it has a big dispersion. And then, I probably most confident with driver, and then when I go to 5 iron or 3 wood, it's the confidence is just not there sometimes. So it's that's probably something I should work on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you probably haven't practiced it, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you haven't done a test of like, okay, here's my fairway from that flag to that flag. It's 40 yards. Like I got to hit. How many can I hit out of 10 in here, right? And then like
Yeah.
not many of us do that, and so like it's if you did that though, you'd be a lot more prepared
Huh. Yeah,
when you
definitely.
need to
And
hit that go-to club.
I think when like you go on the course and you've prepared like a shot, like say you've practiced like punch shots, when you get in that situation on the course, your confidence is just through the roof, and so you just feel that much better when you have that shot. So I think that's something to definitely work on for a lot of people.
Yep.
What else do we have? What's our next habit?
Yeah. Let's keep with the theme of kind of like course management stuff. I think one of the biggest things is like the bad habit is always trying to make a par.
Okay.
So let me explain. So you have an approach shot and you miss it, whether you're in the bunker or you just short-sided yourself, or you've put yourself in a position where you got to get up and down for par. Most of us are like, well, like I gotta get up and down, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna hit this as close as I possibly can. A lot of the times that can open your like give you the greatest probability for making a double. The
Okay.
biggest sin is we can't make doubles, right? If you're trying to play
Yeah.
good golf, if you're trying to break 80, actually any level, right? If you're on the PGA Tour, you can't make doubles. If you're trying to, like, don't make doubles. The biggest that so a lot of us will like go and you've got this bunker shot to a tucked pin, or let's say you got to hit a flop shot and it's like it's downhill, it's going away, so you're like, all right, I gotta land in the fringe and we gotta like have it run out, because if I don't, it's gonna go like 25 feet away, and like so I got to hit this shot, right? So you're over there grinding on like how you're gonna hit this flop shot. You open it up so it's flat, and you've got the leading edge just kind of like right at the half of the ball, and then you go and you hit it. Maybe you fluff underneath it, and it literally goes like a yard and drops and sits down heavier in the rough, or, like, or you've hit that nice bladed wedge where you hit the equator and it goes, like directly over into the rough on the other side of the green. And the reality is like, just like a bogey is fine. Like, just, you put yourself in a bad position. You made the mistake. You short-sighted yourself. Like, that was the problem. Don't do that. Like, just make a bogey. Just hit it on the green. And I know this sounds insane probably to a lot of folks if you're, trying to get better, but like, hit on the green, 2-putt, go away to the next hole, and just like understand that it's a normal part of golf. But you've eliminated the double. You've guaranteed the bogey. So that's like the bad habit, is like always trying to make par from every chip, every up and down that you're trying to make.
So far, Cordie, I am 0 for 2. This actually happened to me twice yesterday, where, I'm same situation you're just talking about, where it's like just trying to make par, and I was just going and thinking like, just make par, and then ended up making double twice yesterday in those same situations. So it's, but so
What should you have done differently? Was it just like, I should have just hit a different chip shot and just put it on the
yeah.
green, or what was the?
So the one chip shot, I should have just been less aggressive, and like with my shot choice. So I was trying to get real close with it, and I ended up like duffing it, and it bounced a few feet and just barely landed on the green. And then the other one, I was again trying to get it real close, and just poor landing spot choice, and just chose the wrong spot, and it rolled way off. So put myself in like a three putt situation.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, those are like the round killers, the momentum killers, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all can recover from a bogey, but recovering from a double is like, you got to pull yourself up from the from the
Yeah.
pit of like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Yeah. And
Um,
so just some background on my game. I'm trying to break 80. It's, so it's doubles are definitely killers. So it's,
yep.
that's tough. So what do you think is the next bad habit? Is that course management too, or is that you going somewhere else with this next one?
We could go somewhere else. Let's do something around. This has been big for me, just over the years, of having some kind of strategy between shots, or some kind of mental game strategy of like, what are we doing between these two things? Yeah, and let's say this is more tournament focused, right? More competitive golfer focused. When you have time, like, you're not just like playing with friends and having fun, and there's just, you're chatting and like pretty easy to fill time. Like, when you are in a competitive round, maybe a little bit by yourself, I think having a plan or some like habits to fall back to are really helpful, because most of us have bad habits. We start to spiral about thinking about what happened or thinking about the future, and we just cause a lot of tension and a lot of stress. And that's the opposite of what we need to play good golf. Now, it's inevitable, like, everybody thinks about their score, from tour pro to, someone trying to break 100. Everyone thinks about score. Everyone thinks about like that tough shot or that tough hole coming up. You can't not think about them. You can't avoid them. You can't try to push them away. And I've really learned a lot from Dr. Greg Carton, great sports psychologist, talks about kind of a mindfulness approach towards this. And I've really resonated with that, of like, we can't stop the thoughts. We can't not think about them. And tour pros have these same thoughts. So don't think like that there's another level that you need to unlock. And in fact, when you try to like tell yourself like, I can't think that, it actually makes it worse. So you're causing more tension. All you can do is accept it and maybe come back to the present. So there's a few kind of like little present meditation, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, but like just little routines that you can go through, little habits that you can implement to like bring you back to the present, hopefully. So here's like a few of my favorites. So one is just kind of like a walking meditation of just like focusing on the bottom of your feet. So like,
Okay.
when you're walking down the fairway, of just like we're going to try to bring the focus of our attention to the bottom of our feet. And that's where we're going to focus. We're going to try to bring the mind back to that. And we're just kind of let ourselves focus on that in the present moment. It's not easy, and you're not going to just think about that. Your thoughts will kind of go all over the place, but that's a useful exercise to try to like give yourself something to do. One that I've done a lot this year that I heard is this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 idea. I forget where I heard it, but it's just like this present like exercise. I've really enjoyed this. I don't know if it sounds weird or not, but like you look around and you like look for 5 colors, and you like identify 5 things, and then you do like 4 things that you hear, 3 things that you feel. No, I can't remember the rest. I put it in the newsletter a while back, but it's something that I've like used a lot. Even though I can't remember the last 2, I promise this sounds fake at this point, but like that one has been so good for me to like between shots to like remember that like I'm here. I'm at a
Now,
golf
will you do
course.
it all the way up to the ball, or will you do it like just for a few, like a halfway there, and then you're like looking like, oh, this is what's coming up, my next shot.
Yeah, like for me, like the practice that I've been in is just like when I've noticed that I'm starting to spiral, or like if
Okay,
I'm really like out there, like
like starting to.
we're losing it.
Okay,
Like we need something. We got to come back. We got to bring it back. Like we got to remember that we're playing golf. Like we're having a great time. Like let's come back here. So like it's not like between every shot thing or anything like that.
okay.
It's just kind of like something to ground and come back to the present. But good
I
studies
think
on
that'd
that.
be
And yeah,
useful for all golfers, not just tournament players, because it's you're saying you make that double. The next tee shot isn't what you would like, and then walking up to that ball, this is something that you could definitely implement and give it a shot. Even just
yep.
doing the 5 colors, the 4 sounds,
Mm-hmm.
doing something like that.
Yep.
That just takes a few seconds to kind of think about. So
Yeah,
that's
but it like the thing is it detaches you from those emotions a little bit and brings you back to the present, which is our goal. Because
yeah,
like after that double, your stress and your tension on the next tee shot are like they're
yeah.
like way up, right? And those are like the enemies of performance. And so, but to reduce those, we got to get more present. We got to come back to the moment. So those are some of the tactics. I like that mindfulness kind of approach towards this, and yeah, Dr. Greg Carton has been a huge help over the years. We've done a lot with him, and a lot of good thoughts there.
So we've gone through three bad habits so far. So far, I'm only really, I'd say, 0 for 2. Probably sometimes that third one, but what do you think for our fourth bad habit?
Yeah, let's look at practice a little bit. I think the bad habit that a lot of people have in practice is they don't have good feedback, and they don't probably have enough challenge either. So let me explain a little bit. Um, I'm super passionate about good learning. I think most of us struggle with good learning, and that we don't kind of understand what that means. Like you don't actually get better when you hit a perfect 7-iron. You actually are
Yeah.
getting better in the errors and the mistakes and like the whole process of a shot. And the most basic way to explain it, or the thing that I think can give people results the fastest, is looking at your practice, whatever that means for you, and just looking at like what kind of feedback do I have. So feedback can mean it could mean a coach giving you like feedback that way. It could be video, where you're looking at video and you're using the feedback of that video in the practice because you're working on something in your technique. You could use a launch monitor as feedback for how you're striking it. Maybe it's how your
Okay.
path is. Maybe it's you're looking at speed. Um, that's feedback as well. Feedback could be literally like where you're hitting it, just watching the ball and kind of looking at that. It could be an alignment stick. It could be a training aid. I think that a lot of golfers practice without feedback, just looking for good shots. And in that kind of like mindless, goalless kind of practice of hoping to hit good shots, we're probably not improving that much.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not like a long-term growth. That's just kind of a random hit and a good shot.
Yeah.
Um, Now, you said like, would you incorporate like a lot of um would you like say you're just someone who's on the range? Would you incorporate like games more? Would you say like you should be looking more at like face strike or ground contact more rather than just ball flight? Do you think that those are good feedback, options, or like a game sort of thing where you can kind of keep score and have a like a metric to go on?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think all those are good. I think
Yeah.
most people don't have any of that. So like first kind of determine like what are we doing here with our practice? Like are we working on a technique change? Like
Yeah.
is there something I'm trying to do to get differently? Are we working on like skill improvement? Like are we just working on skills of like let's get better at flop shots. Let's get better at center strike. Striking the club face in the center. Let's get better at some skills. Or are we working on like performance mode? Like we're playing a game, we got to score. We're putting pressure on ourselves. Like I think some of that, like have a thought of what am I doing here? Am I doing one of those? Because most of us do all of them at the same time without any like specific idea of what we're doing. Um, so yeah, like for you, what do you think about practice for you? What are you working on? How let's maybe make it practical here. Like what can we help you figure out like how to maybe practice a little bit better next time you're at the range?
Um, so most I work on like a lot of skill stuff on the range. I'll use like I'll spray the ground with like the foot spray and work on ground contact. I'll do the same with the club face, and then I'll do like a lot of just ball flight. Sometimes I'll video, but it's kind of like separate. I feel like I don't really do the two at the same time. Like I'll
Okay.
do if I'm gearing up for a lesson or getting ready for a lesson that's online, I'll video my swing, but I'll typically not like video my swing just for me to look at, I'd say. Um,
Yeah.
and then like I do a lot of just skill sort of stuff where I'm doing 10 shots. I want to see how many times I can hit ball first contact. Um, and then just going through different clubs. I'll try to work on different ball flights with like my lower irons and wedges, but mostly doing a lot of skill stuff when I go out and practice.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
That's really good. So, setting that up like ground contact, hey, like I'm gonna hit, 5 shots and let's see if I can get 4 out of 5, in where you're trying to like that contact that you're looking for and stuff like that. Then
So for me, I probably can work more on like do more technique stuff, but it's probably what I enjoy doing the least. So that's probably why I do it the least. Versus I enjoy working on like the skill stuff. So that's probably what I should do. It just do more like more of the technique building activities and practice stuff.
I see. I think what you're doing is great. I think most people do
Yeah.
too much technique and not enough skill work. I mean, I think making technique changes is pretty tough.
Yeah.
Like it takes a lot of work and dedication. So like working on your skills is, I think, huge. Like
Okay.
like I I love what you're doing with that practice. That sounds you've got good feedback. You
Mhm.
know if like your success or not. It sounds like based on what you're doing. I think it's great. I think it's great.
Now, do you think like do you have like a different practice plan every time you go out and practice? Or I know you have like a launch monitor at your house. Like, are you working on the same stuff every time, or is it Monday I do this, Wednesday I do this, Friday I do this? Like, or do you kind of wing it as you go and you just like, oh, I need feedback. This is what I should do today. Like, do you
Yeah,
have a
I wish I
plan
had a
now?
good answer. I wish I had a good answer for this. I don't get to practice much.
Yeah.
Uh, I've got 3 kids, and yeah, a few
No,
things.
that's
So
great.
that
That's great.
that's why like adding the simulator in the house was a gigantic change, right? Because now I can actually do some practice like
Yeah.
that. It's been night and day. Um, and so for me, like I'm also kind of practicing what I enjoy, um, which is right now it's speed. Like I love trying to chase speed and work on this. It's so fun. So like most of my practice sessions have been around speed. And then if I'm not doing that in the simulator, I'm doing like lots of like wedges and distance control and
Yeah.
yardage gapping. Like that's where I'm spending a lot of time. Um, kind of making sure I know my distances, know my yardages. And then the other practice, again, these are all just things like I don't have to leave my house, is I do a lot of putting practice as well at home. I have one of those well putt mats, which are like, I don't know, 18, 20 feet long or something like that.
Okay.
And there's like, you can do a lot of different games and stuff with them. So like I'll like set up different challenges for myself and like try to spend 15, 20 minutes a week at least, like just doing some of that. So like that's how I'm trying to like myself stay sharp on, speed, which is kind of like the fun thing I'm working on. Distance control, which is like essential. Wedges and distance control are essential for me. Like I have to do that. And then putting, I switched to a broomstick this year, so I have more reps, the better for me on that. And then unfortunately, I don't do a bunch of practice sessions out at the course. Otherwise, I'd be doing all skill-based stuff, to be honest with you. It would be all like games around the short game area. If I do anything, I'm doing like 4 feet around the cup. I'm doing that 10 times, put myself under pressure. Can I make 8 or 9 out of 10 of these? Try to get on pretty sloped areas. And I'm just like putting myself under as much stress as I can to try to perform, practice those. And yeah, so like that's a bit into like what I'm working on right now.
Cool. So just to recap, our first 4 bad habits were like poor tee shot selection, or target or club choice, not having your go-to club. Our second one was trying to always make par, not in putting yourself in like a bad chance to make double versus just making the guaranteed bogey. So those were 2 that I struggled with. So number 3 was like kind of spiraling. When you're struggling, you're spiraling and trying to be more mindful. And then number 4 was having feedback when practicing. And you said, making sure you have something to give you feedback, whether it's a coach or, a training aid, ball flight, launch monitor. So what would be our last bad habit? What do you think is, one last thing that golfers should walk away saying, this is something we could fix, and hopefully some low-hanging fruit for us to get a little bit better?
Yeah. I know we've talked about it a lot, but I'm going to go to people want to hit the ball farther, but they don't do anything about it. Like they don't put in the work. So I know I've talked about speed, and like that's what I'm thinking about. So that's what I'm bringing up as the last habit. Have you ever done any speed training? Have you tried to like hit it farther?
So I love speed training, and it's definitely
Okay.
something where if you don't use it, you lose it. It's so crazy how you don't do any speed training for like 2 months, you're back, you're taking a 2 steps back sort of thing. So I'm a big believer in speed training. It's great.
Yeah. So I mean, like everybody wants to hit it farther, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody's trying to, but I don't think any people develop any habits to like actually do it. I don't know many people that have actually ever tried to go swing hard, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, like it's just not a thing that we've done. I think it's a skill. I think it's something you have to work on and improve, because it's not only your body, but it's like your body's ability to cope with the new forces that are being created. Because like you like are doing so much more now with like your feet in your ground. There's more forces there. You have to figure out how to like balance and stabilize those. There's some good studies around that with Dr. Sasha McKenzie talked about like all these new forces that are introduced. Like you have to be able to stabilize those if you want to swing faster, and you can't learn how to do that unless you're swinging faster. So like you gotta do these things. So like for me, like if you want to do it, I think distance is a skill.
Yeah.
You have to practice it and you have to work on it. It is a ton of fun because there's a score and it's something under your control that you can go do anywhere and like anytime. So for me, like when I thought about my goals for this year, like most people say, like I want to win a tournament, like I want to win the club championship, I want to qualify for the event. Like I've done those kind of goals in the past, and then you don't do it because I don't know, could be any number of reasons, right? Like you're in a bad 3-week stretch of the year, or somebody shot way better than you, like whatever. So like I wanted, like, what's a goal under our control? Well, like speed is one that you can control. Like I control if I go to the gym, if I do my speed training workouts, if I, like that's me, that's on me.
Yeah.
Sure, I could break my body, but like other than that, like it's on me. So I think like folks should do this because it's super fun, super rewarding. You can track your progress over time and see, and you don't have to overthink it. Like it doesn't have to be stressful. Like you don't have to buy like one of the like a ripstick, which I've been using, or super speed. I think I've got back here. Yeah, I've got a ripstick, I've got super speed, you got the stack system. Like they're all great, right? Like you can get one of
Yeah.
those helpful. You don't have to though. You can also like work with your driver and like just work on swinging really hard. You have to like test different ideas. You have to have feedback as well. Like you've got to get something to tell you how fast you're going. You can't just do it without that because you don't know if you're swinging
Then you won't
faster.
know.
Let me tell you, it
Yeah.
might feel like you are, but you might not be. Um, so yeah,
So, what launch monitor do you use for speed training? Like I know I use the PRGR. Do you use something different?
yeah, I've got a few good options. I think probably one of the best ones for that would be got it back here, but like the Rapsodo because
Okay.
it'll actually do club head speed and like you can hit balls in it and the it's super good. This thing is so ridiculous for $700-800. It's insane. Um, I've also got like there's a Sports Sense like little thing that you just put down next to it. That I think it was like $100. I use that a lot, and then I use the SkyTrack. I've got that whole thing where I hit balls on.
Yeah.
Um, so like tons of great options. I do think every golf. I think within the next 3 to 5 years, like 50% of golfers will have a launch monitor because they're just like so essential. It makes golf so
Yeah.
much more fun and practice so much more
And like
fun. And
accessible too. So, do you agree? Like, should the guy I play with on Saturday mornings who's 55, should he be working on speed? Should he be like nervous at all? Like, I know I love it, and I really like working on it, but some people might be a little bit more hesitant about it. Do you think everybody should be trying to get after it?
yeah, I mean, I definitely do. I've seen the like older like senior golfers get some really big gains. Like I've heard great stories from those folks. I think that it is a skill just like leg putting is. And your friend that you play with on Saturday probably doesn't practice leg putting either. So he's probably not going to practice speed training either. And that's fine. That's just golf, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, let's we play, have fun. Some people like working at it and working on skills and stuff, and some people don't. And that's totally cool. That's, that's, different people are here for different reasons.
Now, have you had any like stretches in speed training where you kind of like plateaued, or are you trying to just slow and steady, just seeing the progress over time?
No, I mean, I feel plateaued
Yeah.
now.
So,
um, yeah,
so that's where
it
you're
can get
thinking like,
really frustrating.
and that's where you're thinking like, I need to go work on like my fitness, kind of get that figured out to kind of reach your next goal.
Yeah, so I was down with Mark Blackburn a few weeks ago. We haven't released it yet, the video. Just we're working through the edits, but it was full. Like we did all the force plates and like 3D and everything.
Yeah.
And so for me, like I'm putting really good forces into the ground. I just can't get it to the club. And like one of the biggest factors of that when we're looking at all the 3D data and kind of what it was is just like my core is not strong enough.
Okay.
So great.
Something to work on. Yeah. So, well, thank you for joining me. Where could everybody find you if they want to, follow more learn more about the Golf Science Lab and see your journey
Yep.
and see what you're working on?
Yep. Number one way, I'd love to have you guys on the newsletter. Like every Thursday morning, most Thursday mornings, the newsletter goes out. That's me just like I'm looking around finding the most interesting things. It might be like breaking down a study, it might be, sharing from a recent video that we did. So yeah, hop on over there. It's just golfsciencelab.com. It's the first thing you see on there. And then YouTube and Instagram are probably the other spots to follow along. We really have some good stuff coming, some good trips already on the schedule, and some stuff in the edit bay. So follow along as we just go find the most interesting people, interesting ideas, and kind of share, what it takes to get better, have more fun, all that good stuff.
All right. So hopefully I can break some of these habits and hopefully everyone at home can too. Be driven, everybody. Keep getting better.
Next time on cGolfcDriven.
So I started looking for golf bags, and there was nothing that fit my eye, honestly. So I just thought, well, maybe I can design my own. And I went down the rabbit hole one weekend, and we ended up with a Sunday carry bag, like a wax canvas carry bag. And it's sort of, McKinsey golf bags for adults. Like I always enjoyed those
Yeah.
types of bags. So like that's where I got the inspiration from.